Greetings, heathens and heretics, and welcome to another episode of our very own version of Desert Island Discs, Metal Island Discs, obviously. And it's a special one this week because for the first time I think you were with us about 2 years ago, Thomas, I
Would have been
think.
2 years.
Mr. Thomas Eriksen of Mork joined us all the way from Norway. So welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me back, sirs. It's nice to be on.
Good. Now, last time we had you here, you just released a new album, which was Civ, wasn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, 2024. Now, obviously, you're back out there again because we've had word that you've got Monolitt on the way, just about to be released.
That's right.
So, what better time to get you on again and just have a chat about everything that's gone into that album? But as we do from time to time, yeah, we like to do a little bit of a deep dive into people's influences and the musicians that we like and we admire. We like to hear all about the musicians that you like and you admire. So we're going to do a bit of a Desert Island Discs for this, but before we get onto that, let's just touch on the new album, shall we? Because it's imminent, isn't it?
It is.
So I guess talking generally, what do you want the world to know about Monolitt?
It's probably my best work, to put it simply like that. I think this is like the next big step or whatever for the band. So I feel that from packaging to concept to layout, everything, songs, structures, lyrics, the visuals, everything is, it feels complete. And, I'm super proud. And I'm not going to, be pompous or anything, but I'm becoming more and more a fan of this album myself.
Right. Yeah.
After I get a little bit of distance and then I start listening back and, released a couple of singles. And I can appreciate what's been laid down here. So I hope, and like I told you guys before we started recording, today I received the very first review because I've been waiting to see reviews, because it does matter somehow what people think, even though you just have to stand behind what you have made. But it was 6 out of 6, so I'm overwhelmed, and it's a good day here. So,
Well, we drink to that for a start.
we drink to that.
Hopefully, many more come the same way. So, we'll dip into the album a little bit as we go through this, but this is an opportunity now, I suppose, to start off with your list. So, we drop you on a desert island in the middle of nowhere, and you have the 8 albums that you basically you can't live without, and you can have a luxury item as well to sort of make your stay a little bit more enjoyable. So let's kick it off then with, no particular order, as you want it. Album number 1, what you got?
Okay, to put it like this, first off, I thought it was all genres, and then I got the message from my PR agent that it's mainly metal. So I made 2 lists, so we can have a couple of honorable mentions later.
Yeah, do that.
But let's do the pure metal one first then. I would start off with Master of Puppets. I don't need to mention the band name. Everybody knows that.
Who's that by? I'm not familiar with that one.
Metallica.
Metallica. We know.
Metallica.
Yeah, I've heard of them. They sound familiar.
I think they're going to do all right. I think they'll be okay.
I think that album will be big for them, I think.
Yeah, it probably will. I mean, I'm pretty sure when we first did this about 3 years ago, it was very, very drunk. And I'm pretty sure I had it on my list as well, actually, Master of Puppets. I think as a metal fan, it's one of those that you can't ignore. You have to have it in your hand, don't you, at all times.
It is simply perfection. There's no flaws, no nothing. And just imagine, this is 1985 they recorded that stuff in Denmark. And at that time, everything was like arena sound on the drums and bush, 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 and the keyboards and it was a very set sound in time, But this album just didn't give a shit about the rules, and it's its own entity, And I don't know, it's perfect, and it has a strong atmosphere, thick atmosphere on that album. And I remember when I listened to it, when I was like, I don't know, maybe it's 15, 16 when I discovered that stuff. And,
Mm.
I just got lost in only the album art and, comparing the sound with the visuals. And, it's just perfect. And it's, like I said, it goes so deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can say what you want about Metallica, but you can never take away that album. It will maintain and withstand the test of time.
Well, it has, the fact we're still talking about it now just shows that it absolutely has. And just like you said, no matter how you feel about Metallica or what era of Metallica it might have been your stepping on point, or where you prefer. I think, to be fair, Master of Puppets does it all. It's everything they've ever done is all on that album in some way or another.
Mm. Yeah,
Super
that's a fair
impressive
point.
stuff.
And they were
Yeah, was it?
about, what are we talking, 23, 24 years old when you record that? I mean, it's not right, is it?
No, it's
They're kids.
yeah, it's magic.
Yeah.
They really nailed it. Caught lightning in a bottle, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, was this the first Metallica album you heard? Was this the one that drew you in, or were you anticipating this one?
Oh, that's a good question. What was the first thing I heard? I think I got into Metallica around the time of S&M, the first symphony live
Right.
album.
I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of that.
Yeah, that's also a great album where,
Mm.
it also represents the span of Metallica, everything that's good about it. So and there's something special with Hetfield's voice in that period as well. He sings fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe maybe the first thing I heard is probably the early stuff. I think it probably was Lightning or Puppets, I believe.
Mm. Mm.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Right. That's it's a solid start. So when you take one of the best thrash albums of all time or one of the best metal albums of all time, where do you go from there? What's number two?
Number two, let's see. Since I only wanted to bring one album per artist here, I had to do a little battle inside my head because I'm a
Oh,
huge Megadeth fan.
oh, hello. Right.
Yeah, and I was aiming towards Euthanasia first, but then I need something that covers the span of the band. And
Hmm.
then I went one step back and picked Countdown to Extinction.
Ooh.
Right.
Uh,
That's interesting because you go Metallica and you go old school, you go that sort of pinnacle, whereas Countdown to Extinction aligns more with the Black Album, I suppose, doesn't it? Where things get a
Yeah.
lot more commercial and that. So what is it about that era of Megadeth that puts the, because I'm a massive fan of Euthanasia as well. We both
Yeah.
are. It's such an underrated record. So why Countdown over the others?
I think I'm more the first Megadeth song that I heard was the soundtrack for Last Action Hero, the
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger
Yeah.
movie.
Right.
Angry Again. It was, I think, maybe a year later or something. And that's such a simple song.
Mm.
And it's genius. What I like about Megadeth is the simplicity in some of the song structures, I suppose. And
Mm.
don't get me wrong, he is a complex guitar player and he has amazing riffs and passages. But there's just something about when he started to move into the 90s and wanted to polish up or whatever you call it. Also think that he kind of nailed it there with the Countdown and onwards. I suppose it's basically the simplicity of the music, and the production on that album is fantastic.
Mm.
It's the same thing. I was looking at the cover art and feeling it fitted well with the
Yeah.
sound and everything. And the songs are fantastic. You have everything from complex thrash stuff, progressive music, up to songs like Foreclosure of a Dream, which
Mm.
it starts off kind of like a ballady thing, but I love the shit out of that stuff.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it did usher in an era with Megadeth of just great songwriting. I could that, and I'm so glad you mentioned Euthanasia. For a similar reason. For me, the choruses on that album and across
Mm.
that era of
Yeah.
Megadeth were just untouchable.
90s Megadeth is the best Megadeth in my book. I know
Mm.
people are, oh, you need to go to the
Yeah,
80s, and so far so
I can
good.
hear people typing
Beatles.
in.
Ah, I don't give a shit. I like that stuff too. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
I prefer the 90s stuff. And my entry point was actually I saw Megadeth opening for AC/DC over 20
Right.
years ago in 2001 in Gothenburg. And that was my entry point, other than the Last Action Hero thing, obviously. But Then I bought their most recent album back then, which was The World Needs a Hero. I think that's 2001 or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's right.
and that's a big underrated album right there because I love that one too. But I will keep focus on the countdown. Sorry, guys, I just
Where do you
went off.
stand on Risk then? If we're talking 90s Megadeth, because that's the one that just gets panned by everybody. Everybody thinks it sucks, me included. But where do you stand on that?
Love it.
Well, yeah, fair enough.
You
Fair
know, yeah. You have what is it? Prince of Darkness, fantastic. Wanderlust, fantastic. Insomnia, fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Even the poppier stuff is great. You know, like Breadline, isn't that the song?
Mm.
I like it. It's you know, to me, it's not important to be aggressive and you know, underground all the time. I like
Right.
music in general. That's kind of my vibe, you know. At least now in the older age, I just music is its own thing, you know, and either it tickles you or it doesn't, you know.
Can't argue
Yeah,
with that.
that's
I think
yeah,
one thing I will say about that era of Megadeth, is I think, Dave had sort of taken his foot off the pedal in terms of like the guitar playing and really just kind of like shredding and thrashing. But his voice was in such a great place. He
Oh
just had this
yes.
this really soulful quality to his voice, which is an odd thing to say about Dave Mustaine, but
Yeah,
it
you
was
know,
there.
Dave Mustaine in the 90s had he found his register in his voice, and I love it. Many people hate it. It's like a cat fight or something, cats fighting. But you know, but I love his voice. You know, I think that's a huge part of the sound of those albums.
Mm,
You know, and I do know now. I read a couple of biographies by the other members, like Marty Friedman's biography I read last year or this
yeah.
year, I suppose, and. The secret sauce behind those albums is that it wasn't solely Dave Mustaine.
Mm,
The other
yeah.
boys was also contributing with the writing, even though maybe
mhm,
they didn't get the credit for it. But you can really notice when it went from that group effort into only a solo thing that he did later
Mm.
on, and the quality thereafter. You know what I mean? So he needed those guys, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
there
yeah.
was a chemistry about that classic Megadeth lineup,
yeah.
wasn't there? And I know still went through quite a few drummers and that, but Mustaine, Ellefson, and Friedman, that as a triumvirate were, as good as it gets, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
Mm, mm.
yeah,
And
once that started to fall apart,
Nick Mensa,
incredible drummer.
super important, and he
Yeah.
was also a songwriter, contributing songwriter. So
Yeah.
I'm really sad that I never got to see that lineup in the flesh. You know, when I saw them live that first time I talked about with AC/DC, it was Al Pitrelli from
It
Savatage,
was.
and it
Yeah.
was
Oh yeah, yeah, of
I saw the
course.
very same tour actually. It was at Milton Keynes Bowl in the UK. Yeah, same
yeah,
one.
that's right,
Stiff upper
that's
lip,
right.
wasn't it? Yep, yep,
Yeah, and I think it was Jimmy DeGrasso on the drums, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
Who there's a Rude Awakening DVD, I think it is. There's a Jimmy DeGrasso does a drum solo in the middle of She-Wolf, and it is fucking phenomenal. Like it's just whirlwind drumming, absolutely insane. So
Talking about She-Wolf, fantastic song,
great
also
song.
from the poppier era. It's from an album called Cryptic Writings,
Yes,
I
which
like
yes.
to
is
be yeah, I love
even
Cryptic
even
Writing.
more poppy than the others, but a fantastic song.
I
And
like Cryptic Writings.
Mm.
I remember when they announced the release of that live VHS, I believe I bought back in the day, but the Rude Awakenings, fantastic stuff. But
Yeah,
that is also kind of his last days where he still had his voice somehow, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Because over the years now he has been struggling with his voice. That is
yeah,
apparent for anyone who
yeah,
hears
I'd say.
it. But
Yeah,
hey, he still does it, and now it's a farewell tour now, and in just a week or two, I'm heading to Poland to catch one of their shows there. So looking forward to that. That will be probably my 15th Megadeth show or
wow.
something.
Oh wow.
Yeah, hardcore.
Undeniable, undeniable. Now, it seems like an appropriate time now, actually, because your first two choices have both been classic thrash
Mm.
bands.
Yeah.
And just to briefly go back to your newest record, Monolitt, we both had a listen to it. Really enjoyed what we've heard so far, but I would say there's definitely a thrashier element that's very apparent on this one. Would you
Certainly on the
say?
opening track.
Yeah, would you say so?
Yeah,
Would you say?
yeah. The thing is that I'm watching the track list over here now. It's like I always try to do. It's a varied album, you know. I don't just want to have a just one red thread throughout. I want it to be like a dynamic thing. And yes, I suppose the first track, Under vekten av verden, which translates to Beneath the Weight of the World, it has some thrashy elements, maybe a bit more. I don't know. I think more about perhaps like some 1349-ish stuff, even though this is what's the word? Way not that extreme though. But the last track, Utryddelsen, that has a thrash riff throughout. So yes, you are right. There are some thrashy elements, but you also have, you know, like doomy stuff and droning stuff,
Yeah.
progressive stuff, and you have actually you have some pure black metal stuff too on here.
Mhm.
And you know, I enjoy to just kick down the doors and just don't have any rules. Just
Yeah.
paint with the entire palette. It's so
Mm.
important to me. I don't want to just make a black metal album, you know, because this is album number 8 and the Mork has become its own thing. And that's so important to me to maintain and evolve.
Mm.
I
And that,
think
that
we.
breadth of
So go on. Go on.
influences absolutely comes across, and it's just it's what makes it an enjoyable album. And we think about, I mean, we kind of already mentioned it when we talked about Master of Puppets. There are so many different elements that go into that. That's why we're still talking about it now, because it was created in the same way, kick down the doors and just paint.
Absolutely. And, you know, when they released that stuff, the world have never heard anything about like that before, you know. It was
Mm.
brand new and original. And that's, you know, that is what it takes to become a great band, is to,
Mm.
you know, use what comes naturally and not what is expected of you, you know.
Even every time that Metallica had the shit kicked out of them for changing the sound, for going to the
Mm.
Black Album and then Load, and and every single album they get the same abuse. But music doesn't matter what the genre it is. It's got to challenge you somehow. If it's boring and you forget about it, it's pointless. It's got to invoke a bit of emotion and a bit of an opinion, and I think that's what makes it all so exciting.
Totally agreed, sir.
You know. So,
Mm.
okay, so let's go on to album number 3. What's next?
Then I put down the debut effort by a little known British group called Black Sabbath.
Oh, never heard of them either.
No, Zach Blabbeth. No, the debut album. That's always been very important to me, and it was also the first thing I heard of Black Sabbath too. So you
Right.
know, it's been there for the longest in my life.
Oh,
We recently did personal countdowns, didn't we, of Black Sabbath albums. We went through sort of both eras. The debut was number 1 for me. It was right at the top.
yeah.
I just
Same for
think,
me.
yeah, I just think it's look, all of Sabbath's back catalogue is 99% of Sabbath's back catalogue is great, and
Mm.
obviously that shift from that first album into Paranoid and what they became after it, that album, that debut album is, in 1970, that must have been such a shock to people. Like there was nothing like that. Yes, Deep Purple were out there, Zeppelin were out there, but it's just so dark.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
we're talking about atmosphere again, and the atmosphere in that album is, you can even hear it in the silent parts, you
Yeah.
know. There's just something there, something haunting, and the album art is fantastic, you know. I made myself and my fiance Criminal some years back when we went to England. I think this was yeah, this was right before COVID, actually. I believe it was in 2020, January or something. And we took the train and took a cab and went out to that place where they took that picture, you know, the water mill by the Thames outside of Reading there.
Yeah, Maple Durham Mill it's called, isn't it? I've still never been there. It's about 2 hours from my house.
I
I've
know.
still
There you
never
go. I've
been
never
there.
been either.
I don't think I'm welcome back there because it was closed, so we jumped the fence.
Hey.
We went all this way. Okay, I can't leave now. So we went in there. We had a quick little photo shoot thing, and then the owners came and you know, they caught us red-handed.
look,
Uh,
what's going to happen? You kind of somewhere that iconic, and people just go, nah, don't worry, bother.
no, it was like, oh, I'm sorry, jumped back in the cab and went off.
I
And
cannot believe the moment you were the first person to jump the fence to take
Exactly.
the
no,
photo.
no, 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 no. It's
Yeah.
like I called it. It's like a pilgrimage for a rock and metal fan, you know. And there's just something about that album photo and the sound of the album and the
Mm.
mystique, the darkness that you mentioned. Fantastic album, man. It is, and it's a real band. You know, I think they recorded. I stood in the room where they recorded it as well, which actually is in Denmark Street. You know, I believe maybe they have torn down the building now, but it was Regent Sound Studios, and it was a guitar shop when I was there some years back. But I believe, you know, like all of London, it's getting torn down, so the legendary places are, you know, are disappearing, which
Yeah.
is a shame. But that's how it is, I suppose.
It's a
Yeah.
very difficult album actually to really sort of quantify why it's well. What I mean is, if somebody had never heard it before, it's difficult to describe what it is about that album that's just so evocative and so effective. You know, it's almost like it's not necessarily just the musicianship, it's not necessarily just the songwriting, but there's just something baked into it. There's just this atmosphere throughout the whole thing. You know, I get goosebumps now just talking about it. It's such a magical album.
And I know the title track has been talked to death and gotten its share of acknowledgement, but just listen to that track, man. They wrote that at the at the end of the '60s, and it's like this tritone riff and the darkness and all, and the end part there with the more up-tempo riff.
Mm.
It's fantastic. It doesn't get better than that, you know, in the world of hard rock and metal, you know.
Deep and deeply rooted in the blues. Like you know, songs like The Wizard. It's just, yeah, the blue. I mean, we talk about the blues a lot, don't we? How important it is for heavy metal, and you know, if you've got that deep root, it just adds something different. The whole package is just perfect.
If
Nailed
you,
it.
you know, if you would to ask me what kind of guitar player I am a blues player. You
Yeah,
know, that
there you
is
go.
what is beneath everything.
Yeah,
So, yes, the blues is definitely the devil's music and the most important genre, if you ask me.
yeah. Well, look
Mm.
at that. Okay,
Mm.
well, let's go straight into number four then, before we dip back into Monolitt a little bit more. So what's next up?
Next up is another British gang. Uh, they are called Iron Maiden.
No, never heard of them either.
I recently went to see their new movie on the in the cinemas up here.
Okay. That's something we need to discuss. I've not seen it yet, but the two of
Yeah.
you have.
Yeah, yeah, I
No,
saw it last week.
no, the album I picked is Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
Okay,
Right.
that's interesting. How do you pick a Maiden album? Like, why Seventh Son?
No, because you know it's like Kill Your Darlings kind of thing. Yeah, because Maiden is great. Most of the stuff they have put out is great. You know, my entry into Maiden was Brave New World because that was the time I was about 16. So that's one of my favorite albums. But
Yeah.
the Seventh Son, there's just something about. We're talking a lot about atmosphere. The atmosphere is in that album, and it's super thick. There's something about the ice cold with the cold synth sounds and the guitar licks and sound. Oh, and fantastic songs, and it goes deep. Like Moonchild. It doesn't get better than that, man.
Just adore Moonchild. It's the chorus, Bruce's voice. I think that's probably on that chorus is one of his absolute peaks. He just sounds incredible. Just this huge, soaring chorus, just incredible.
Yeah, and and the genius riffs, and it's so somber, it's so dark. The guitar riffs in that song, and the rest of the album as well. Like Only the Good Die Young, fantastic song. The Clairvoyant is great. Evil That Men Do. The title track, obviously, with the long, midsection there, which I actually got to see live a year or two. Last year, actually.
Last
I
year, wasn't it? Yeah,
saw,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We saw it
They
too. Yeah,
they
yeah.
played the first time they exchanged the blow up dolls and backdrops with the huge LED screen. But
Yes, that's right. I'm still not sure how I feel about that. I kind of
No,
miss
I wasn't sure
I
either.
miss the the crazy looking inflatables and monsters and things like that.
The curtain coming across and
Oh, yes.
all of that.
I kind of like the old school way better, but I don't really care. I'm so lucky that I still have Maiden in the world and they are
Yeah,
still
of course.
active, and you can say what you want about the last 20 years of albums, but you always have the back catalog, which is just like the Master of Puppets thing. You can't take that away, and the 80s, and I even love, Fear the Dark from the 90s. I like certain tracks of No Prayer for the Dying album too. But the 80s, the golden years or whatever they
yeah.
call it, it's fantastic stuff.
Yeah,
I think
and just listening to you sort of reel off the track by track listing there of Seventh Son, and
Mm.
it's also an era of albums where every song had its own identity. The same is true, I think, for an album like Master of Puppets, for example. You put it on and there's no repeats. Everything is its own unique thing and has its own story to tell, and I love that. I think that's a an important art in putting an album together.
yeah.
Yeah, and the funny part about Maiden, because they kind of use the same chord progression in all the songs, E, C, D, E, C, D, whatever. And they still manage to make the songs apart, to have
Yeah.
their own sound and own character. And that's super impressive, man.
Can we quickly touch on the movie then, since the two of you have both seen it? I mean, I've seen some sort of varying opinions on it as to whether it's any good or not. So what Thomas, what did you think of it?
No, you know what? Maiden has already had tons of documentaries, and this
Yeah.
is just another documentary. That's it, basically. But now they touch upon a little bit of the later years as well. And I think the documentaries are fun. I went to see the Dio documentary in the cinema as well. And
Oh yeah.
I love that stuff. I think it's cool watching, and it's just something about viewing the story of a band, that's
Yeah.
made it into success or whatever. And I don't know, I just enjoy that kind of stuff. So I'm happy. I'm pleased. It is what it is.
I think
Yeah.
it's good that it touches on some of the later years as well then, because I think it's Brave New World is an incredible album. I think it's up there with some of their best. I'm a big fan of Dance of Death and Matter of Life and Death. There's a bit of a dip in there after that where I'm not so keen, but Senjutsu I think was a real return to form. Hell on Earth on that album, it just when they played that live, it just sounded massive. It was magnificent, huge song.
Yeah.
So, the fact that they're still putting out material that's that good, after
Absolutely.
50 plus years now, it's a testament to them, really. What a great band they really are.
Yeah, undeniably.
My 2 cents about the later stuff is that I believe in my taste is that the last kind of good album for me has to be the Final Frontier, I suppose, if I had to pick one of the later ones.
Right.
Yeah, because I think they kind of lost something over the years. I like the kind of snappy songs with the hooky stuff, and Brand New World is filled
Yeah.
with good hooky stuff, and great concise songs. But when you put on too long intros and interludes and stuff, I kind of get a little bit of bored, and later albums I have a hard time with. I have to admit that.
I mean, I
But
think a lot of people feel the same. Again, I think Brave New World. We've mentioned that a couple of times. I'd say that's close to my favorite Iron Maiden album. I absolutely adore it.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
I appreciate you saying that, because over here I have been getting some shit for picking that as one of my favorites. Oh, what are you, some fucking poser? Oh, you don't choose the 80s? Oh. But I was 16. That was my first Maiden album, so it's natural that I have a nostalgic feel to that. And
Yeah.
you can't deny it. The songs are great. Wicker Man, come on.
Yeah,
That's
a classic album opener from Maiden. That
probably the
classic.
best comeback single ever.
Yeah,
Well, I was about to make that point. Just as a comeback album, it's a raging success.
yeah, it was huge.
Oh,
And,
yes.
and it just goes to show. Look. The documentary obviously covers this, but they were on a very low ebb. In terms of, and I think even in the film, Nico says if they hadn't have made that change, they probably wouldn't exist as a band anymore.
No,
So I
No,
think that,
yeah.
yeah,
I think I don't want to put any shit on Blaze, but I actually met the guy, super nice and including fellow. But his period with the band was, unlucky one, I would say, because they kind of dipped and they went from arenas into small clubs, and
Yeah.
they had a hard time the late 90s, I suppose, and the albums shows it as well. I've never really became comfortable with those albums. I think they sound weird. There's just something about it. But when they came back around for Ed Hunter was the reunion with Bruce, I suppose. And when he did the Blaze tracks, sounds fucking awesome, man. One of my favorite Maiden tracks. With Bruce singing, though, obviously, probably "Man on the Edge."
Man on the
Fantastic
Edge is a
song.
great song. It's
Yes,
a great
Yeah.
fucking song. I think
great song, and
the
based on a great movie as well.
yeah, it's a great movie. I think Blaze gets a hard time for those albums. Everybody blames Blaze Bailey for it, and I think largely it just came down to not great songs. It's
Mm.
following on from Fear of the Dark and No Prayer for the Dying, when Maiden were already starting to dip off. Adrian Smith had gone,
Yeah,
a great songwriter in himself. So I fucking Blaze. It's his fault. It's not fair. He did a
yeah.
solid job on those albums. It just didn't work.
And
And he did. Yeah, sorry,
no,
continue,
no, please,
continue.
you.
No, he didn't hire himself,
No,
so it's not his fault.
no, not, not.
But I suppose we all agree that his voice doesn't match the Maiden thing.
No,
Yeah. I mean, on that point, like I am a big fan of Wolfsbane, the
Yeah,
band he was in previously. I think they're great. And when he was hired for Maiden, I was really excited because I like that. I like the stuff he was doing with Wolfsbane so much. But it's context, isn't it? You take that voice, which works great in those songs, and
yeah,
then you put that in Maiden, and it's the wrong fit. It's
yeah,
simple.
yeah. Yeah. They made the wrong move. I'm sorry to say. And who can you put up against Bruce Dickinson?
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
I think you would lose either way.
Yeah. I think even Blaze Bailey himself says that.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bruce is one of those iconic figures, and yeah, he's the real deal.
Yeah,
mm,
yeah, it is. It is. So taking this back to Monolitt for a second, then. Obviously the album comes out now. It's about 3 weeks from where we're recording this now, 3, 4 weeks. What's the plan for you this year? Are you going to get out and tour this? Because you've had a lineup change as well, haven't you? So there's a couple of things been going on in the Mork camp. What's the plan now for the rest of this year?
Yeah, now we have a new lineup. We have a new drummer this year, and it's still myself, obviously, and Alex has been with me since the beginning of the live band, so he's constant. And Øyvind, the bass player, has been with us now for 2, 3 years or something. And then the new drummer is Eivind Brye, very great drummer here from Norway, and he's new. He started playing with us in February this year. His debut was in the Czech Republic in Brno, and he played a show with us in Turku, Finland. And then he did our most epic show, which was Inferno this year, which was, I suppose you guys know the Inferno Festival.
Oh
yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah.
And
We're very envious of it every year.
it's a fantastic event, and a good Easter, well spent. So, but we played there. I think it was the fourth time now, and now they amped us up to the main stage for the first time. And then,
Amazing.
when you play the main stage at Inferno, it's always a special event for
Yeah,
any band. So just to do something, call it out of the ordinary, I hired the pyrotechnics and stuff, and
yeah,
it was fantastic. And
yeah.
it was a well rehearsed band. We were comfortable. We played 2 new songs, both singles actually, and second single we played before we dropped, so that was a little bit of fun thing for us. But fantastic show. We went off stage with a huge, great feeling in our stomachs, and that's a good vibe to have. It's a new
Yeah.
year, new lineup, new album, so we kind of went off with a bang there. And we are heading out on our first European tour actually in October. We have been playing obviously all over the world and in Europe, but this is the first time we are playing, every day, for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I believe it is. It's actually a month. The entire October. We start off with 4 gigs, I believe, or 5 gigs in Spain, and then we go home for a couple of days, and then we head to the Netherlands and start off the European tour in a van. So that's exciting stuff to see what's it like, grinding in the club
Mm.
scene, and see how
Damn
that
right.
works.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. With a brand new album in the can, and so people are going to be excited for that. So, I can only imagine the atmospheres.
yeah, it's exciting to go out there, and this is like a headlining tour, and that's always a bit scary because they are relying on that you pull the crowd,
Yeah, yeah.
and we usually play festivals and one-off shows here and there, and I'm curious to see how this works, but I have faith, to put it maybe in a weird way, but yeah.
Somehow,
Faith in black metal.
yeah, there's always faith in Blackmore, but somehow we've got to get you playing in the UK because since I discovered you guys, you've not played here, and I get the challenges of coming to the UK and playing shows now and just working and earning money. It's not easy, so it would be great to get you over at some point.
Like I always say to people that ask if we are coming here or there, please just tell the local promoters, make it happen. You need to put in a demand for us, I suppose. And I am actually pushing my booking agent too, try to get something going in England. But I don't know if it's so easy with the Brexit stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think we even need the work visas going
yep,
there now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think a Mork set, like something like Incineration, would just be phenomenal. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
that
just,
would be great. We played Underworld once, a club gig, and we played London twice actually, another venue too, and we played the Damnation Festival in Leeds,
Oh
mm,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and that's about it, I believe, for England. I think 3 shows in total. So yes, it's about time.
It needs to change. It needs to change.
Yep, agreed, sir.
Yes. Right. Album number five, I think, Ron. Yeah, album number five. What's next?
Okay, now when I made my first draft of this list, I was like picking live albums just to get to cover more albums in one,
right.
But now we are at my lifelong love, my favorite band of all time, and we are heading to Australia this time.
Okay.
AC/DC, obviously, and I can't really pick one album, so I decided to pick a live album, and that is the movie Live in Paris. If you guys have heard that live album from '79.
No, not familiar. Is that no, I'm not aware of that.
No,
Well,
but
that's
79 is a good year though.
yeah, it was
Well,
the last
yeah,
year with
yeah.
Bond. It was
Yeah.
the Highway to Hell tour, and they made a movie out of that back in 1980. They released a live movie, and the live album came out in '96 or '97, I believe, as part of the Bonfire box set.
I was
But
gonna say, is that part of the
Ah,
bonfire
okay,
box
that
set?
I
I
know of.
had
Yeah,
that floating around in my head, and I was like, it was ringing bells. But yeah, I mean, AC/DC were on fire in 1979.
yeah.
oh yeah, and that live album is if you haven't heard it, please do yourself a favor. It's I only have one word. It's greatness. It's so good, and the band is on fire. It's the sound is brutal, aggressive, and it's a really hungry band, and it really shows in that concert in particular. And
Yeah.
I
So
never grow tired of that.
no, and I was going to say you mentioned you said they're your favorite band, So how far back does that go?
Oh, I believe to 15, 16 age as well, around the millennium, I believe. I
Right.
discovered AC/DC, and maybe 99 even. And, I was a young guitar player, had been playing guitar for roughly a year or so, and then I discovered AC/DC and everything changed. I bought myself an SG, started playing blues stuff and copying Angus licks, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it just changed my life. And if you listen to the albums, it's not just party rock and roll music. It actually runs deep. It's it has this pulse and underlying atmosphere. And
I
look at
completely.
an album like For Those About to Rock, 1981. The darkness in that album is perfection. No, I have a huge of respect for what the Young Brothers has created over the years.
I
Yeah.
think I actually think, I mean, look, this is a ridiculous thing to say because they're one of the biggest bands on the planet, but in a certain regard, I think they're underrated. Right? I do
Yes.
think they're underrated as songwriters. I think they're underrated as arrangers and performers. There's something you going back to when you mentioned Black Sabbath and you talked about the space in the music, and there's something
Yeah.
really powerful in that space. And I think
Mm.
exactly the same thing applies to AC/DC. It's a cliche to say it, but it's what they don't play is just as important as what they do.
Absolutely. And Phil Rudd said it best. He was asked, why don't you make any fills or rolls or whatever? And he was like, no, I'm like not like the dental drummers. I don't like to feel every hole. And it says it all, It's paf.
It's perfection.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple beat, but you can hear that it's him.
Mm,
He has his own touch, and even the Young Brothers had said so that the albums where he didn't perform, something was missing.
mm.
Mm.
We are missing Phil. So
Yeah.
no, there's totally agree. They are underrated, I think, because most people think it's just party rock and roll music, but
Mm.
it's so much more. So much more.
I think the party part of it kind of comes more as time's gone on. When Bon Scott was alive and AC/DC in the 70s, they were dangerous. There was swagger. There was, I would love to have seen AC/DC back in that era because Bon Scott was just a wild character. I mean,
Uh,
as they got bigger and bigger after Back in Black, it obviously all changed, but they were almost punk rock with the way they did things. They were just out there. Yeah.
yeah, and in 1976 they played Scandinavia for the first time, just down the street here in over across the border in Sweden. Played several dates in small places. The first show in Sweden, they played as what's the name? And they were intermission act in between the sets of a
Oh,
dance
wow.
band. Just
Wow.
imagine being one of the 10 to 15, 20 people who went there to see AC/DC back then.
That's insane.
Uh,
Yeah, they just released High Voltage and TNT, and I don't know if the Dirty Deeds was probably not released yet, but I just imagine seeing Bon Scott in a place like that.
Probably starting a fight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
it's
saw
funny.
rock and roll.
Exactly. We were at Desert Fest this weekend, and one of the conversations we had was like, if you had a time machine, which gigs would you go back to? And
Yeah.
and we couldn't really settle on any. There's so many. You think about all these classic bands. Who,
I,
who
I,
wouldn't go back and see those early shows?
we are lucky to have music in our lives. Just let's put it like that.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Now you used the word intermission in just then, so I thought let's have a little intermission now and maybe talk about some of your B list, your honorable mentions, maybe the albums that people wouldn't expect to see on your list of favorites.
Okay, I have two of them here off the top of my head here. I don't have an album in particular. It has to be maybe some compilation thing.
Okay.
But CCR, man, Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Right. I mean,
That,
yeah, you mentioned the
listen,
blues,
yeah,
country blues, it's all there, isn't it?
yeah, but listen to those. What is it, like 4 or 5 albums that they made in the span of a couple of years back in the late '60s. That's aggression, man. It's aggressive guitar sound. He's playing, he's screaming and shouting and singing, and what an incredible songwriter he was, John Fogerty, in his prime, And I grew up on Creedence because of my father was a huge Creedence fan
Right.
as well. So I kind of grew up on that stuff, you know. And also that's also things I started to pick up on the guitar when I first started playing, you know,
Makes
Creedence
sense.
stuff. So I think that's a really important band in my world, anyways. And my next one, what was that? Yeah, also a live album because I need to span a catalog somehow. And Pink Floyd, Pulse.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're talking. I think people talk about Pink Floyd and talk about the obvious eras of Pink Floyd, but that part of Pink Floyd, I love it. I absolutely love it. The Division Bell, I love. Momentary Lapse of Reason, all of that whole part of Pink Floyd is great. And Pulse brings all of that, and obviously the classic Floyd in a one. The version of Comfortably Numb on Pulse is just makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Incredible.
Goosebumps,
Yeah.
goosebumps right now.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Now,
I'm a huge fan of David Gilmour, you know. So and obviously I do appreciate what he did together with Roger Waters.
Mm.
You know, Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall are probably one of the two best albums ever. But just something that draws me towards that Pulse release. Something about production, everything is perfect, and it's missing Roger obviously, but you know, great live album all in all.
yeah. Do you
Yeah.
remember when it came out and it had that flashing
The
light on the
flashing
side?
red LED. I had
I
the
wonder
CD
how many
box
of
set.
them are still flashing.
Fucking hell. Yeah, absolutely love it. Right, okay. Let's have I tell you what, before we do your luxury item, let's have one more album.
One more album. All right. I mentioned I saw a Dio documentary, and I had a hard time. Either I had to pick one of the Dio Sabbath records, which obviously is fantastic. Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules, Dehumanizer, and even the last one he did, The Devil You Know. But I already had picked a Black Sabbath album, so I will head towards the Rainbow and Rising.
Perfect album.
Yes, well put.
It's like yeah, I
Oh,
was my 15-year-old son discovered heavy music finally about a year ago, and I remember sitting him down and making him listen to that album, and it's just he didn't really get it at first, but I said you've got to soak this stuff up. This is like of all the silliness of heavy metal, all the pomp and all the fantasy stuff, all of that all comes from that album, and it's just this is so important, and it's just a brilliant piece of work.
Yeah.
Much respect to Richie Blackmore
Yeah.
for creating that stuff. He went from Deep Purple and created Rainbow, the first three albums of Rainbow. Fantastic stuff.
Mm.
But you have to pick one, so I picked Rising. You know,
Of course.
the album art is iconic, fantastic, epic painting of that fist with the rainbow there, and you know, Stargazer.
One of the greatest songs ever written.
One of the greatest intros ever, you
Yeah.
know.
Fantastic stuff. So thank you, Mr. Blackmore, even though I think he's a bit crazy.
Oh, he's definitely crazy, but crazy people make great music, so it's
There
fun.
you go. There you go.
I always hear the whole is it Stargazer or Stairway to Heaven when people compare them, and I don't think Stairway to Heaven even comes close to Stargazer. I just don't.
Ooh.
Even though I'm a huge fan of that too, though.
Same, same. Adore Zeppelin, but
Yeah.
For me, Zeppelin were at their best when they were a bit more sort of stripped back and bluesy. Zeppelin 3 is my favorite Zeppelin album, so yeah. But
Fantastic one too.
that's
Yeah,
a
I mean,
controversial for another time.
when you're putting a conversation like that out, it's like you're putting Cozy Powell up right against John Bonham.
John Bonham,
there.
yeah,
Like, how do
Yes.
you?
yeah.
Now listen, what song is it? Is it the intro of it's Stargazer with the drum intro, right?
Yeah.
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 You know.
Yeah, incredible, just fucking incredible.
And he also played in Sabbath, you know, in the Tony Martin era,
did.
and I'm a huge fan of that stuff too. So
Oh man, like we did our Sabbath ranking, and we really spent some time just digging into those Tony Martin albums. I think they're fantastic. I think the first side of Tear is heaven for me. You
I think we can be friends.
this is good news.
You know,
This is good news.
Jerusalem. fucking
Oh, the
fantastic
riff in
song.
Jerusalem. Oh man,
Uh,
that's I feel like I'm walking on air listening to that song.
Anno Mundi, fantastic
Yeah,
stuff. And what was it? Was it last year or the year before where they finally reissued those
yeah,
albums and
yeah,
in the box set and on the Spotify shit? And I got my hands on the vinyl box finally.
Yeah, yeah. I did this.
Forbidden is finally back on vinyl, and
Yeah.
the cross purposes. I love that stuff.
Mm,
Bean, do you
yeah. I
remember a
always
couple of years ago at Desert Fest, Tony Martin sat and did a sort of a Q&A, didn't he, at the start of the festival and talked about his time with Sabbath and everything like that. And he spoke so fondly with it and spoke so well about the whole era, told some great
yeah.
stories too. It's just it's a crazy part of the Black Sabbath history, really, because
I
Mm,
yeah, yeah,
I need to tell a short little story. In 2012 or something, I believe it was. Tony Martin came to Halden here. I see you have Halden in your
yeah,
background there. I realized just now. He came here to this small city, and he was going to play a gig at a really small pub. And it was basically just him and a karaoke setup and a bass player and a guitar player. It's really, really beneath him, if you ask me.
yeah.
And I believe at the gig itself, we were 10, 15 people there.
wow,
And
that's crazy.
the night before, I got a hint, or somebody told me that hey, Tony Martin is in town, head over to that place. So I went to the place where he was at, and I hung out with him for an entire evening.
That's very
And
Oh,
cool.
very
like
cool.
a fanboy like myself of his stuff, it was like magical to get to hang out with that guy. And super nice and polite, and he told, like you said, it told stories. We had some
Yeah,
pints, and that was a fantastic experience. So
that's very
thank
cool.
I'd
thank you,
love to
Mr.
see
Martin.
someone just get behind him and put, it seems like he's just fallen into this, he does a lot of session work, I think, and
Yeah.
he's put us, is it Thorns was his last album, I think, which was decent. But I'd love to see someone book him and take him on tour, do a Sabbath tour. That would be my dream. I've never seen him
I,
perform, so for me, that's a big one I'm chasing.
yeah, he deserves a comeback, to put it like that. But the funny thing is that when we played Australia now in January, we played in Sydney, was the last gig. And a friend of mine was on the guest list. He came to the show, Peter Kovetsky from is it Battle Lord Productions, his label, and he is actually the one who releases Tony Martin's albums now.
Okay,
So he has an Australian underground label that he's working with
interesting.
Peter over there, and Peter is a nice guy too. A shout out to him. I met him in Halden as well. Actually, he came through here with some other bands he was promoting, and yeah, nice guy. And it's a small world, to put it like that.
Mm, mm.
Is there talking of your hometown and this that's behind me? Is there a scene in your town? Is there really a metal scene? Because obviously, you've had to start it somewhere. So what goes on in Holden?
Well, when I started playing, it was all punk rock and punk rock like Ramones and I suppose you guys have heard Turbo Negro, the
Love
Norwegian
Turbo
band.
Negro. Yeah.
That kind of rock and punk
Mm.
stuff. And then people got older, and now it's basically only Americana and roots stuff like country and western shit. And so when I started Mork in 2004, I was the only one doing black metal, and I was the only one for many, many years. Now, the last 5 years, two more bands has come along. So I suppose there's three black metal bands here now, but I
That's a
was
scene.
I was a lone wolf for
Right.
over 20 years.
Wow.
But this is black metal. You only need three bands to make a scene. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not a scene. I don't. I'm a bit secluded kind of guy, anyways. I'm a hermit, so I don't see myself as part of any scene at all. So
Yeah.
you meet people at the pub and stuff, but my black metal has always been something I've been doing in solitude,
Yeah.
just, exploring my own mind, I suppose. And that is something I need to keep private in a way, if you know what I mean. And I don't want to compete with other bands in a scene, and you know, because then the expectation, all that stuff takes away what's true in the music in my mind, if you know what I mean. I don't want to have it fit in somewhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Complete sense.
Makes total
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, yeah, of course it does. Of course it does. Right. Okay. So we've got a couple of albums left, but let's find it. So we're going to drop you on this album. You need one thing to make your life a little bit easier, and to give you an idea, over the times we've been doing these episodes, some people have come out with some most ridiculous things. One was a London venue that was destroyed about 15 years ago. Going to want to rebuild on an album. Everything from record players to beer to footballs to all sorts. So what are you bringing with you to make life easier?
This is just a really boring and cliche answer, but I suppose I would bring a guitar.
Makes sense.
You know, that is my palette. That is how I can get lost in that for hours, and when you are spending time on a desert island, I suppose to kill time is important. So might as well be creative, and play the guitar, I suppose. So, but I suppose it had to be acoustic though, because I can't bring an amp and a cord and a power,
Well, this is it.
supply. So
We might let you have a spare pack of strings, but that's about
maybe a pick, maybe a guitar pick.
Well, you could use a shell.
That's right. That's right.
We'll look forward to the Mork Desert Island sessions. And
Yeah.
yeah. No, it makes total sense. Of course it does. You've got to stop yourself going
I'm
crazy.
surprised we haven't had that before.
No, I don't. Yeah, I think you're the first person to say it. So
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
But when we drop you out of the plane, we'll drop you, and then your strings will be dropped somewhere else on the island. So you've got to go off and find those.
That's the challenge.
That'll keep you.
Actually, today I started to rewatch Lost from the first episode.
Oh,
really?
God, that's painful. I lost interest in that after the second season. I can't do this anymore. I can't.
No, I actually saw the whole thing back in the day. I did, but I decided to, rewatch it now just to see what it was all about because I've forgotten most of it. So,
He's a crazy man.
I know.
That's when we know we're getting older, when we can watch things we watched before because we've forgotten what happened.
Yeah, that's true.
But dude, it's 20 years. It's 20 years.
Is it really?
Fucking hell. Right. Okay. Right then, Lost aside, what have we got? We got 2 albums left now, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, next one.
Yeah, I had a hard time here picking because I appreciate this guy's later work more or less more than his earlier stuff, but I also like his atmospheric synth stuff. So we're going to the most controversial one, I suppose. Mr. Vikernes and Burzum.
Oh, hello.
Okay.
This is going to get people talking.
Yeah, because I am kind of a black metal guy, I suppose. So I need to have a black metal album. And Burzum, he's the one artist that has really nailed the black metal thing. The atmosphere and the vibe. Nobody has really gotten that close as he did. Everybody else is like bleak copies of what he did. So but I had to choose This Lyset Tar Oss, which is suppose, what is it, his third album or something? I don't really know, but the reason why I chose the album is because he has the full sound there. He has the great songs, and there is a synth track at the end there that is just total atmosphere, and I need some of that too. So you have both sides of Burzum in one album, in one package, and it's magical. Like I say in all interviews, you can say what you want about the guy. He is this, he's that, he said this and that. But, I don't really care about him personally like that because I am more into the art here. So I separate the artist from the actual art. And of course, some musicians and artists are crazy and maybe right wing or left wing or whatever. But the music is what's important here. And Burzum's music is just fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations because like you, I lean towards separating the art from the artist, definitely. but there's something about there's a certain, and we've talked about it with Black Sabbath. We talked about it with AC/DC. It's just capturing something else in the music. There's an atmosphere there. There's something that I don't know, like maybe you can't, or it's difficult to do it intentionally, but somehow in the creation of that music, you just capture this otherworldliness
Yeah.
that it's difficult to explain.
Yeah, and Bursum did that.
Mm,
It's also like catching, lightning in a bottle kind of thing. And I don't know, he was like 17, 18 years old or something when he recorded that album. And a teenager creating that stuff is insane.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. That's fair.
he was a wordsmith, his lyrics are fucking amazing to be from a teenager. And just lay down in a dark room and listen to that stuff. It takes you away to, a fucking valley inside a Tolkien universe or something. And
right.
it's so it sounds weird but tribal in a way. It's like this kind of, urban legend or whatever the word should be, but it's kind of, it sounds like it's from an earlier time, an earlier age. It's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. The music just captures you. And
We were
what?
talking about Moth on here not too long ago, and there was talking about a recent album that they've just put out, and how it just sounds like it's from an ancient place. There's
Mm,
something about it which is old,
yes.
and it's quite powerful, when something sort of captures you in that way. It's not just about riffs and headbanging. It just kind of, you know,
Oh yeah, it's not about headbanging at all. This is basically a deep-rooted feeling you have inside, that music tickles. And one of my favorite things to do is like when I go on a road trip in Norway or whatever, through the valleys, forests, over the mountains in the car, just to put on the Bursum albums, and get lost in the view of the nature. And it goes hand in hand.
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess that
Music and
comes back
travel is
to,
really important.
yeah, yeah. It just comes back to what we were saying earlier on about, it's got to invoke an emotion one way or another, whether it's, people will completely disown that kind of music because of his beliefs and because of his actions, obviously. But you can find something else in that, and that's what's important. That's the personal touch, the relationship you have with that music is far more important than what he got up to. So
Me being a Bursum fan doesn't make me right wing. That
no,
is doesn't compute in my head.
100%.
Um,
That's it. It's
so
more important, it's just about knowing who you are and being secure in that. You can go anywhere with that.
yeah,
absolutely. But
yeah.
today we have this woke thing. The world has become a pussified place to live. So, but what you gonna do?
All right. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We'll do your final album then. What's last on the list?
No, I'm staying within the black metal realm now, and I find myself going back to this album again and again because I suppose it's basically a perfect album, sound-wise, song-wise, and the peak of this band's career actually. And this
We,
is
we, we've had a lot of perfect albums on this list so far, so I'm excited to hear what this is.
Yeah, let's see if you agree then. This is still in Norway, Death Cult Armageddon
Oh,
with
okay.
Dimmu Borgir.
Borgir.
I was sitting there thinking, is he going to go Emperor? Is he going to go Immortal? Is he going to go Dimmu? But yeah, okay. That's an
Yeah.
era of Dimmu Borgir that yeah, I'm definitely on board with. Yeah.
And I love the album that was before it, the one with the tits on it.
And why did you love
Yes,
that
it is.
album? What was it that particularly stood out about that album?
Oh, I love this humor, man. No, you know what? Dimmu at that point in time, 2003 or whatever it was, the lineup was great. They had all the elements that made out this perfect music, and that is, Mustis on the keyboards and orchestration stuff. They had Vortex on the clean vocals, and you know, Galder was in there doing his riffs along with Silenos and Shagrath, and you know, that was like kind of what I suppose Rust in Peace era Megadeth was. You know, the same thing goes for this band in my belief, anyways, and. You know, Death Cult, that album, it sounds great. Every song is great. And I like it because it's so much more than just a black metal album. It's varied, it has depth, different
Oh yeah.
layers. And that is what I suppose you're learning more about me now, that I appreciate, you know, variation and stuff like that. And this album is filled with it. And the first thing that caught me with Dimmu was actually Vortex's clean vocals and fantastic arrangements, you know. So, yeah,
It's
that's
well,
my
that's it.
final
It's when
album.
you hear something that's new and different and unique, it's going to pull you in. You know, in this world of heavy music where a lot of it sounds the same, and but if
Mm.
something comes along and they're doing their own thing, it's going to prick your ears up. You know.
Absolutely. And this is Dimmu album number, I don't know what album number it is, but they really became what they
Oh
were
yeah.
supposed to be on that album, you know.
Actually, it was because we were listening to the newest Dimmu album last week. Was it Grand Serpent Rising? Which
Yeah.
I think is a phenomenal piece of work. Really, really enjoyed it. And
Go check our review of that way if you're watching this. Just go back and give that a go. But
Yeah,
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 carry on.
yeah, cool. Yeah,
there
yeah.
you go. But it struck me how quickly they found that sound. Like if you listen to something like For All Tid, which was very kind of like, raw,
Mm.
rough black metal recording. It was only a couple of years later, I think 95, 97, I think, that they'd found this symphonic element and were really sounding quite sophisticated in their arrangements and their songwriting. And, they seem to have just taken that and just gone with it.
Yeah, that's also an important part of black metal, is that, you know, back then, no two bands could be the same, similar, you know, because then you would just get, you know, freezed out of the scene or whatever, because
Mm.
you needed to have your own voice in your music and not copy the neighbor, if you know what I mean. So Dimmu did their thing. And, you know, that's why they are an important band today. That is why Satyricon is an important band, Darkthrone is an important band, Burzum is an important band, Mayhem. They all stood apart, you know. They're in the same kind of cloth, kind of black metal thing, but they all chose to go their separate ways and finding their own personalities. And that is super important. And then that is also why Mork is the way it is. You know, on the last album, Syv, it's not just a black metal album. You know, it's
Yeah.
so much more in my mind, anyways. You know, there's even like an acoustic song on that album, and it's so important to not just be a, you know, tribute to what's been done before. Obviously, Mork in the beginning was kind of a tribute to Darkthrone and Burzum. I don't deny that, but I still was seeking out my own path, you know, and I think that's important if you're going to be a, you know, a artist releasing music, that you need to have your own voice, you know.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And from Civ to Monolith, we were talking about this at the weekend, that we can hear a progression between those two albums, how the album sounds, the different arrangements. Like I was saying, on the thrashier parts, I'm not even going to try and pronounce because I'm going to make myself sound like a twat. But track two, you've got sort of like a doomy outro in there. Track five, Ferdinand, is that how you pronounce it?
Fardaman.
Yeah, that I'm not even going to try,
Perfect.
which is again a lot more atmospheric, a lot more doomy. So the
Mm.
beauty of black metal over any other extreme metal genre, I think, is you can go down all these different wormholes, and you're all black metal. Everything is within that genre, but it all sounds different. Whether it's Wolves in the Throne Room, whether it's Spectral Wound, whether you go back to Mayhem, it's all totally different, and that's
Yes.
testament to you all. Really, it's incredible.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's probably why I love black metal and feel comfortable making music within that realm. Because, as you say, you know, it's not many genres where you can vary that much. So,
Mm.
for example, I'm not a big death metal guy, but I suppose you don't have that amount of
No,
opportunities within the death
no,
metal
you don't.
genre, you know. But black metal is uh, you know, it's so deep and personal, you know, and it goes in way beyond your own psyche and stuff.
There's
So,
no rules, is there?
no, and there's no roof and there's no bottom, if you know what I mean. So,
Yeah.
no, you know, it's a perfect genre for me, and you know, I have been doing this for over 20 years now, and I feel that I have found my own voice, and you know, I'm just evolving from that now. I'm inspired by my earlier work, and then just progressing like
Right.
that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Right. Well, that is pretty much it. We're going to leave it there. So I think before we go, just fill everyone in when the album is out, where you can buy it, pre-orders, all that kind of thing. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. New album Monolitt comes out June 19th. Peaceville Records still hanging in there.
Hmm.
We are going out on a European tour in October. Keep your eyes open for venues near you. Keep pestering the promoters in your town. Maybe they can bring Mork over sometime, you know. And I do my own hand numbered, signet, you know, autographed copies of the album over at my own web shop. And you can also get it in a record store near you, I suppose. It's also important to maintain, you know, the record shops and physical music. So
Yeah. Yeah.
if you buy the album directly from me, of course, I appreciate it, you know, but it's important to keep physical music alive as a whole, I suppose, you know, especially in times like this when you have
Yeah.
the AI stuff taking over more and more. And
Mm.
I'm saddened to say this, but AI is getting better. And, you know, I'm hearing AI music now that, you know, sounds like humans. And it's a
Yeah.
scary time and it's the beginning of the end in a way. But luckily, there's people like us that still, you know, appreciate the physical arts made by man, you know, not just the digital world and
Keep flying the
laziness.
flag, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
So my message to you all is just keep on supporting the real arts out there, you know.
And that's a
Amen.
great way to end it, I think, isn't it? Thomas, thank you so much again. Great fun hearing about that. So yeah, if those who are watching, listening, if you're enjoying what we do, please give us a subscribe. Please like, just all helps us get the word out there and do what we're doing. But yeah, until the next one, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Stay metal.
Thank you.